Hello, everyone. Welcome back again to your Cowboys podcast, all about America's team, brought to you by Delahanty Media. I've got the intelligent goggles on today. I'm here with my co-host,
Owen Chico.
and like I say every episode, this is your place to hear everything and anything about the Dallas Cowboys. We've got a lot of pretty interesting topics to go through today. Is Dak struggling in training camp? How is Zeke looking? What CDs highlight? What kind of highlights is CD producing? And of course, Micah Parsons. And also, we can't have a show about the Cowboys without speaking about Jerry Jones. So we'll get into all of that. Also, rookie cornerbacks getting a little too overconfident when they're coming into a defense that was the worst we've ever seen in our lifetime. But we'll get into all that. But before we get into it, you can find us on All About America's Team on Instagram and America's Team, capital P, capital C, on Twitter. And also, we do have a YouTube channel that this is streaming on right now live. So if you want to check that out, it's once again All About America's Team. It may be a little bit easier to find because I did some updating to the front page. But if you're still having trouble finding it, just go into YouTube, into the search bar, type in All About America's Team, and one of the episodes will pop up, and you can just click the username for that video, and it'll take you right to it. But yeah, so let's get going. Owen, you got any news for us today?
Well, today was a busy day for the Cowboys. The past few days, it's been rumored that they were going to sign Malik Hooker, who is a safety for the Colts, who ruptured his Achilles recently. But he is back and he is healthy, hopefully healthy. They were just waiting on a negative COVID test and some quarantining for him to be able to catch up with the team and start practicing. And I was looking forward to them signing him because obviously after last year's performance, we need as many safeties as we could get. My only thing that I was worried about was who they were gonna release, but thankfully they didn't have to release anyone. All they did was that they placed an offensive tackle, Mitch Hyatt. I don't know how to pronounce that on the injured reserve. So hopefully he's battling a knee issue. He was put on PUP before going into training camp. So and him and Tristan Hill were the two players that were going to take the longest to get back to 100%. So I'm totally fine with that. They also signed a cornerback from ex-cornerback from the Jets. Ray, if you want to go into a little bit about him and who he is and what we can expect.
Yeah, so I checked his page, tried to get a little bit of information on our friend from the Jets. I've already forgotten his name because that is how irrelevant his stats are, because he has played in a grand total of one game, and I believe he has generated 0 stats. So this will probably be a training camp guy, training camp body to throw around, make the rookie receivers and second-year training camp receivers feel good about themselves as they run right by him every single play. But, yeah, just a body. Give a little bit of competition. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. What's his name again?
I think it was Kyron Jones. I may be wrong, but I think that's honestly anytime
Kyron
you sign
Brown.
an ex Kyron Brown. Okay.
Kyron Brown.
Anytime you sign an ex-Jets player,
Kyron Brown.
Honestly, anytime you sign an ex-Jets player, you're not gonna be don't be expecting much unless you sign Terrell Basham. Then he's the one exception because he has been making some noise in training camp. And I'm very much looking forward to him being he's not going to start obviously on the defensive end, but hopefully he'll be able to go in if DeMarcus Lawrence is tired or if Randy Gregory's tired and just be able to go. Because I think one of the biggest issues going off on a tangent here last year was that we didn't obviously Randy Gregory didn't play a lot, and we got into that last episode about how he felt like he deserved time and how he felt he deserved playing time and he didn't get it. An issue with us last year was that DeMarcus Lawrence kind of had to be the starter as well as a bench player because no one else besides him and the occasional game that Alden Smith would play well would do anything. So we didn't really have any. So when he would go out, there'd be the offensive tackles could just stand there and there'd be no one to going at them because our depth wasn't that good. So having Basham, I'm very much looking forward to. But yeah, the cornerback that we signed, it's going to be very hard to beat even some of the draft picks that we've signed out. So hopefully, if nothing else, he'll be a practice squad body, and if anything happens in the season, he'll be able to come in and hopefully won't get burned too badly.
Yeah. Keep talking for a couple more seconds. I forgot my microphone stand.
Go
so I'll
for
be
it.
right back.
I'm also looking forward to Hooker to signing him. Hopefully, he'll be able to get healthy and show the show the coaching staff that he is ready to play and isn't still injured or his Achilles isn't bothering him anymore. Because I remember when he first came into the league before his injury, and I was his one-handed catches in the end zone. He was a force to be reckoned with. And then obviously he got injured. But before his injury, I remember he was very sought after, and people were looking forward to him becoming a free agent and hopefully being able to sign him. But then obviously with his injury, just like even Ray said when we signed the Achilles brothers, KZ and the linebacker, we now have the Achilles tribe, basically. We have three of them.
We have the triplets, and
triplets.
Malik Hooker is the adopted brother.
Yes, he is the ugly
This is
cousin
going to be
out of the three of them.
This is going to be quite a secondary.
Yeah, hopefully. KZ, I don't really. Obviously, I didn't watch Falcon football, but I haven't really heard the greatest things from him. Obviously, before they got injured, that defense was amazing when they went on that Super Bowl run, but then got beaten by Tom Brady. And Ray, this is your time if you want for the weekly Eli Manning clap.
Oh yeah, Tom Brady.
So clap it up.
There are many reports of Tom Brady and the Bucs perhaps getting that perfect season this year with their loaded football team and a fairly weak schedule, but just our weekly Eli Manning appreciation, because the New England Patriots were 16-0 at one point. Actually, they were 18-0 at one point, but Eli Manning stopped them once again from that perfect season. Congratulations. Thank you, Eli Manning, for saving us. We really appreciate it. Some more than others.
Mm-hmm. But going back into Cowboys stuff, hopefully, I think after talking about safeties a little bit, and then Ray, you can take this wherever you want. I think after last year, Donovan Wilson, and even today, McCarthy said that the best defensive player we had last year was Donovan Wilson. And from what I saw on Twitter, he's in shape and he's looking good. So I think he cemented himself as one of the starting safeties, and hopefully Hooker can cement himself in the other position. Because I can't even remember the last time we've had two solid safeties. Because last time I can even remember that we had a solid safety was Barry Church. But you'd know better than I would in recent history, and obviously Jeff Heath, who was an interesting one.
Yeah, Jeff Heath laid the just a couple of safeties off the top of my head that we've had the last few years. J.J. Wilcox laid the wood on Odell that one time. Jeff Heath, who could hit pretty hard. Barry Church, he was a solid safety, but we really haven't had that great safeties since Roy Williams back in the day. I used to have a jersey of his. I don't know where it went, but he played back in before the 2010s. He was quite a decent safety. But this before I realized what injury Malik Hooker was coming off of. I was saying that this was the Cowboys' best signing in the last 10 years because they're bringing in a star safety who could really contribute to building a very young defense. But then, of course, after Googling what injury did Malik Hooker have, Achilles, it's a disaster because our entire secondary is full of Achilles tears.
Ray and I have been talking about Cowboys football for years now, and when he saw that Malik was signed and he said, "Oh, that's the best free agency signing," I was like, "Wait, I don't think he knows that he also tore his Achilles."
Yeah,
That was like I was like, first, the best move in the last decade or recent history is Amari Cooper, in my opinion. So I don't even if Malik Hooker was fully healthy and like if he was fully healthy, he would not be on the Cowboys because the Cowboys don't like to sign good players, they like to sign injured players that are cheap.
That's exactly right. I'm glad we have gotten on the same page.
So he wouldn't even have been on their radar because he would have been too expensive and he would have been way too good. So hopefully, from what I heard, it's a 1-year deal because like injury concern. So hopefully, if he plays well, he can get like re-sign on. One more thing, you can take it. Hopefully, Randy Gregory can receive an extension because what I've heard, he'd look really, really good in camp, and this is his last year go off his deal. And the last thing I would want is for him to have like a year, and then like Seattle take him from us. So hopefully they can sign him on like a 3 to 4 year deal and decent money, kind of what they did with Lyle Collins before he had his breakout year. Because for some odd reason, minus the Jalen Smith deal, the Cowboys are kind of good with, but if they're not a star, they're kind of good with paying them the year before they play really well. So hopefully he'll be able to get a payday during training camp and can show everyone how good he is going into next year.
Touching on all those things, I'll address Randy Gregory last. With you admitting that the Cowboys only sign injury-prone players, that even works with your best signing of the decade, Amari Cooper, because not only is he physically injured with his foot and ankle, he's also mentally challenged on the road. So it works both ways. But yeah, Malik Hooker, I don't really understand why the Cowboys continue to go after players who had just suffered a catastrophic lower leg injury, especially for a safety in the corner, of course, from Atlanta, when they're going to have to be chasing receivers all over the field. Some being Mike, just an example, the very first week of the year when we're going to be chasing Evans, Godwin, and Antonio Brown all over the field. And then, of course, when we get to Kansas City, Tyreek Hill, seeing Devontae Smith twice a year, Jalen Reagor, who's fast. Not saying he's good, but we'll see. Maybe he'll break out, especially maybe if they were to trade for Deshaun Watson. We might get into that a little bit later, whether we feel like it or not, because I know he reported to camp.
I'm surprised that he did.
But yeah, maybe I'll touch on, maybe later on we'll go into why we think so-and-so is the best sign of the last decade, because usually Cowboys aren't very active in free agent when it comes to signing players. They really just kind of started doing that last year when they signed a bunch of old defensive linemen that didn't fit their system, or players that they cut or got hurt. So, but usually they say relatively in hibernation during the off season, unless they're signing players or not signing players. So, I mean, it's a good signing. Hopefully he's healthy, because if he's healthy, it's going to really help our defense a lot. And I'll get in a little bit more of why, before I realized he had tore his Achilles the year before, why I think he's the best signing in the last 10 years. But we can move on from that. There's a lot of great camp drama that we can come up with from the last week. So let's kind of move into some of that.
Okay. Which do you want to get into first? Like the cornerbacks playing well. We could talk about Dak and his first 11 on 11 and how he kind of had. He threw 4 picks today. He threw 3 picks to the defensive backs, and he threw one to Casey, who I guess he heard. I guess he saw Malik Hooker in the background, and he was like, "I gotta be good today."
This is quite exciting because I thought it was only 3.
Well, three to the DBs, and then three to the corners. Either 3 or 4. There are different reports going around, but I think it was 3.
And who knows? Maybe he threw 10. I don't know.
Who knows?
We don't know.
If it was some absurd number, I think there would leak it.
Yeah, we just have 3 documented videos of the interceptions. Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't know how to broadcast them up on this great screen that we have here.
Yeah. I don't even know if we did.
Yeah, but if we could and we did know how to do that, I would absolutely be doing that right now.
If you want to, you could always. What we could always do is we could on our Twitter account, we could always just comment under it, so the people that follow us could always go into it.
Yeah, or maybe I'll post it on our Twitter.
You could,
with crying emojis.
Ray and I got into this a little bit earlier because I didn't know if I wanted to let him know or not. I kind of didn't want to have to hear the Dak slander, but this is his first time with 11 on 11 because he's only doing 7v7. So this is his first time with 11 on 11 since his ankle injury. And he's obviously going to struggle. I'm sure if you go into any other fan page like Tua Tagovailoa at minicamp, he couldn't complete a pass to save his life. But it's minicamp, it's training camp, and that's kind of what it's intended. In my opinion, I would much rather have Dak throw a few interceptions every practice than him go out there and just throw it, rifle it in, and the cornerbacks be lost. Because at least if he isn't getting the ball to the wide receivers, he can kind of work on that. So when he faces an actual defense like preseason or week 1, he doesn't go in there thinking that he's like fully like healthy and stuff. Like I'm sure he would always work on stuff, but it's good to be able to have some self-criticism and be able to fix on things in training camp instead of going up against Tom Brady week 1 and throwing an interception and then us losing because of that. But I know you and I differ on this. And I know half it's probably jokes.
Story. That would be quite a story, wouldn't it? A pick 6 against Tom Brady, ball game. I don't know what I'd do the next show. I'd have to come up with a skit.
Yeah, you would have to.
But yeah, regarding the interceptions, I watched all of the 3 I saw that were on Twitter right before the show. I mean, they, from the most part, it just looked like not seeing the field, just stuff that you will fix as you go on. Just to go into detail, one of them, he was rolling out to his right, my left, watching, and tried to squeeze one in, which he had no business throwing, and it was intercepted. Another one didn't follow the safety, who was one of the Achilles brothers, and he jumped around and took it for 6. Then the other one was on a slant route that one of the corners jumped in front of, trying to fit it into another really tight window that he had no business throwing into. So just, it seemed all 3 of them seemed a little bit greedy, like greedy throws. Maybe, it's training camp, whatever. But I'd like to see those cleaned up. It would be nice. But
it's first time.
It comes with seeing the field. Once you see the field better, those will diminish. But just to touch up on the Tua Tagovailoa, if you want to bring Dak's level down to Tua, who struggles with playing the quarterback position, whereas Dak struggles as being an elite quarterback, then we could I would love to defend Dak against Tua because Tua might be the worst quarterback I've ever seen
No,
since Ryan Leaf.
I wasn't trying to compare them. I was just saying that I'm sure if you go with the Chiefs pages, you'll see him throw quarterbacks him throw interceptions. Every quarterback throws interceptions. Yeah, you would love to see Dak clean up some of them, but I'd much rather this than him step back. Like even like he had at least I think today they worked on Hail Marys and he had at least two. He had I saw two videos and they were at least 50-yard plus throws and he got them right there. I would much rather. I'm happy that he did that instead of him throwing it like helicoptering in the air. Because early on in his career, both of your main issue with him was deep ball accuracy and the ball's not having tightest spiral. So I'm glad that he's been working on that. But the 3 interceptions in camp, if he wants to throw them in training camp, sure, but I highly doubt that he would try to throw them in games because he's much more conservative with throws like that in real game than in training camp. But tomorrow, like you texted me about before, do you have today practice, tomorrow's practice, which is the first pads practice. So so tomorrow we'll truly see how good Dak is, like on his ankle, how healthy he is, and hopefully tomorrow I'll only be able to send you touchdown tweets and not interception tweets. We'll get into that next show after seeing tomorrow.
Yeah, I still have some questions about his deep ball accuracy because we didn't really see him play that much last year. But I saw that the CD throw where he made me sympathetic for our corner Reggie Jackson, Reggie Robinson. I feel bad for him because CD just ran right by him. But it looked like that deep ball throw. It was a nice back shoulder, perfect on the money throw, except for the fact that there was no offensive line, there was no defensive line, and it just looked like a nice clean pocket. Of course, every quarterback can make a deep throw when nobody's coming at them. It's whether or not when you have those defensive rushers and those linebackers and the pass protection breaking down. So that's what I want to see. So it remains to be seen for me whether or not he has that deep ball accuracy. But I mean, he's definitely improved on it because he is throwing the ball downfield more, and that comes with them transitioning into that pass first offense, which we could debate whether or not that's a good or bad thing, considering the success of the Dallas Cowboys being a run first team. But yeah, interceptions come with the game. It's just very hilarious to see interceptions come from our $40 million man, who by week 1, I will have all of the money he makes from his endorsement deals on the table just in case I need them for my skits.
He's made a lot.
Yeah, it's all good fun. It's all good fun. I want Dak to have a good year. It would make me happy.
All of us do. But do you want to transition into how the defense reacted to these interceptions? Because I have a quote from
let's do
Joseph, boss man.
Let's do it.
So earlier after practice, Kelvin Joseph was asked how he thought the Cowboys DBs played today with 3 interceptions, and I said this to Ray, and Ray and I had mixed feelings about this quote, but I'm gonna let you guys decide for yourselves. He said, and I quote, "We're gonna fly around, no fly zone. We're gonna call it airplane mode. When y'all drop this interview, tell them Cowboys defense." Kelvin Jones says airplane mode. You can't throw no fly zone. Now, I don't think that we haven't had this type of like confidence in a rookie, let alone a veteran, in quite some time. Because even Sean Lee, when he was healthy and like great, he didn't talk much. So DeMarcus Lawrence talked way too much. So it's kind of nice to see, especially from your cornerbacks, him talking. But after last year's, whatever you want to call that type of year, I think that you should let how you play on the field talk, because if for some odd reason they were to go and play Tampa week 1 and get 50 points hung on them, everyone and their grandmother will be screenshotting that, especially Ray, and will be making fun of Kelvin Joseph and the rest of the Cowboys defense. Which, I mean, hats off to him. He's confident. He's looking good. But I don't know. I would like to see this in preseason before I start calling them airplane mode, because even after DeMarcus called them the hot boys or whatever he called them, I was like, yeah, like we're decent. And then he got like t-shirts, chains, and then they stunk. So I'm going to try to keep myself grounded and not call them airplane mode until I see at least one of them get an interception. But
well, the problem is with tweeting anything or saying anything relatively controversial, especially when you're a part of the Dallas Cowboys, is that everyone is going to be tweeting it, screenshotting it, talking about it. Can you hear me?
yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Screenshotting it, tweeting it, talking about it. I'm sure Skip Bayless will be talking about it whenever he gets back from his wonderful vacation. First Take will be talking about it. Every Sportsnet, Sports Center, everywhere it's going to be talked about. So guess who is going to hear about these wonderful comments that they are making?
Who?
Every single quarterback they are facing. So, for example, we have Tom Brady, Justin Herbert, we have Kirk Cousins, Patrick Mahomes, Matt Ryan, Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, even pretty much anyone, any quarterback who can throw the ball decently and is a decent quarterback is going to hear that statement, and they are going to laugh because they know what the Cowboys defense was the year before. And just think about when this reaches Tyreek Hill or Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen or Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Keenan Allen, Michael Thomas even will probably be laughing because that's just how he is. More receivers: Terry McLaurin, Kenny Golladay, Calvin Ridley. Like all of those receivers, they're gonna be like, just wait till I line up against this bum. He's a rookie. So we got to be careful when we say these things, especially when you don't have any source to back up your claims. But I like the confidence. I feel like Jerry Jones had something to do with this quote. This has Hard Knocks written all over it. I guarantee they'll have this interview in Hard Knocks whenever that comes out. I think it might be later this week. The first episode comes out
August 10th.
Not later this week. In fact, it's going to be 2 weeks.
Yeah, Wednesdays from now, I think.
But you always have to be careful, especially when you're facing Tom Brady week 1. Like Tom Brady's going to be, he'll probably put this up on the projector that first week before they play the Cowboys and say, all right, who wants Kelvin Joseph first? Just something like that. But I hope he backs up his points. That would be nice. He seems like a decent player.
I think going into the draft, everyone could argue that Devonta Smith was the best wide receiver that we had seen for the year. Like he was, besides the kid that the Bengals selected, but he didn't play a game last year for LSU. But any wide receiver that took a snap, Smith was the best. It was kind of between him and Waddle, but Smith, I think, took the cake on that one. And if I remember, we talked about this a while ago when Joseph lined up against Smith. Smith had his worst statistical game. Kelvin Joseph had an interception. I don't think Smith had more than 3 catches, and he had like 20 or 30 yards. I'll obviously have to look at the numbers, but it wasn't like he had some big game against him. Smith, he ran like a 4.2, 4.3, which is really fast for any player, but especially a cornerback. So I would rather him not say this just because karma just loves the Cowboys. But if the defense going into the season can be confident and think like highly of themselves, because if you look at the defense from last year and this year, they're 2 totally different defenses. Besides even looking at the coordinator, like I'm sure there's at least 5 or 6 players that are going to be starting that are the same. Obviously, like DeMarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory, and a few others, but it's going to be a whole new defense. So what happened a year ago, that's not this team. The Cowboys are still going to cowboy, but the actual players and like the identity of the defense is going to be totally different, which I love. But obviously they're going to have a star on their helmet, so who knows?
So where did Kelvin Joseph play again?
He went to LSU and then Kentucky. So I think it was when he was on Kentucky. If you want to look, I can look right now if you want to talk.
I just pulled up Kentucky versus Alabama from last year, and it's telling me that Devontae Smith had 2 touchdowns and 144 yards.
It wasn't. You talk and I'll find it.
Okay. Yeah. Rookie corners are always going to be confident because they're rookies, and then they will get torched and they will get humbled and they'll learn not to say ridiculous things like that. See, if it was if it was like Darren Woodson saying that or Deion Sanders, I would be like, yes, you go Deion or Darren Woodson. By the way, those were 1990s players. That's the last time we had a good football team. But since we're getting it from a rookie, it's kind of, I mean, even if Trayvon Diggs said it and he's a 2nd-year player, but he had a decent enough for a rookie year to where he can kind of say a few controversial things. But I'd rather Kelvin Joseph say this than Jalen Smith, because that would just be a disaster. Yeah, so it's just one of those statements that can either come back to haunt you or make you sound really smart. And with the Cowboys, it is more likely if you were to bet that it would be a disaster, then you would probably win money, because that's what happens most of the time when the Cowboys play football, which is quite unfortunate. Owen, have you found anything relatively helpful?
So going back into why they wasn't there, Kelvin transferred to Kentucky after the 2019 season, and he was redshirted, and he only played 9 games for the 2020 for the Wildcats. He had 25 tackles, 4 interceptions, and he had 1 defensive touchdown, and he had 5 pass breakups. And then he didn't play a lot in college. I'll just say that he didn't. He was a 4-star recruit. He was a 55th ranked national player, but he didn't play much. But that we can talk about that another day. Character issues, all that stuff. So let me find where. So he said he held Alabama's Devonta Smith without a catch in their reps against each other. He had a pick at the goal line at one of those targets. He faced some impressive receivers, and he held his own. So last year he didn't go up against them much because Kelvin Joseph didn't play all that often because either his character issues or him not wanting to play, but who knows. But yeah, I don't know exactly where Devontae is going to play next year, because I don't really know who their starting 3 is going to be. It's obviously going to be him, the kid from TCU, and someone else, but I don't really know where he's going to line up. But I'm sure Trayvon Diggs went up against Smith several times in practice because they both went to Alabama. So, and from what you and I have both seen and seen video of, Smith or Diggs he even hold his own with his brother Stephon from the Bills. So if he can do that, and if he can stay in front of Smith, then I don't think that he'll be able to tear him up. But that'll be unknown until they play the Eagles later in the season.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm hearing is when he matched up with Devontae Smith, he held him to no catches, but Devontae Smith against everyone else had a lot of yards and two. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of yards to
on.
say the least.
Yep, it makes sense now.
Can I say one thing and then you can go into what you want to say?
I am good on this topic, so say what you got to say, and then let's move on.
I know you'll laugh at this. So one of the first videos I saw from today's practice was the linebacker core, hitting the I don't know what it's called, but it's like the elevated pad and like it bumps up and they like press it up. So Parsons, he destroyed it. Cox destroyed it. Leighton, who you and I have both heard is having a really good training camp, killed it. Jalen just lifted up a little bit and then ran around. I was like, you can't be doing that. Like, you can't.
We could have a whole show talking about Jalen Smith.
Like that, he gets some undeserved hate, but
the hate that he gets from me is all deserved. Trust me.
Other people, it's some of it's undeserved, but overall, he had a very big drop off from his 2018 stellar season.
I mean, the man says watch the tape, and then there are quite a few Twitter videos from this training camp that he looks just abysmal out there. I would encourage everyone to just Google those tapes.
There is a Twitter account, actually. Let me find it, and I will tell everyone.
Yeah, and then of course you have every other linebacker destroying, I guess the blocking, whatever it's freaking called. Everyone else destroying it, and then you have Jalen just waltzing up there and barely putting a dent.
So if anybody wants to laugh, look on Twitter at Jalen No Swiping, and let me tell you, it is the funniest thing that I have seen in a very long time.
All I will say is I hope Jalen likes sitting on the bench, because if he doesn't get his act together, he will be doing quite a lot of that. Because from what I'm seeing, there are a lot of linebackers that are outplaying him. One being our first round pick and first pick in the draft, Micah Parsons, who I wanted from the start. And Owen had wanted the offensive lineman, but now he has decided he would rather have a freak athlete who flies all over the field on the defense. Because if you're wondering where all this swagger and these ridiculous comments are coming from, it's probably because of Micah Parsons. Because Micah Parsons is that competitive, arrogant, confident dude.
Yeah.
So that would be your catalyst.
Going into the draft, both of us wanted the other cornerback. Well, I think both of us said that we both want the cornerback from Alabama, and then we had some other options because I thought that Parsons was going to go earlier than he did, but he had some character issues, some stuff that he did, but it wasn't confirmed or not. But I know that Tyron Smith is not getting any younger, and I think this next offseason, they're going to have to draft a tackle early on, unless they can somehow get the cornerback from LSU. But we can talk about that in February or April.
At this point, we don't need another cornerback because we are fairly loaded at the cornerback position at this point.
Oh yeah, but if he's the guy in LSU has been like compared to Ramsey. So if we can get that, then I'm more than happy. But I wanted the tackle, or I would have wanted either of the cornerbacks. But I feel like when whoever they draft, you gotta even when it was Taco Charlton, you kind of have to like him because you're stuck with him. And I wouldn't even. You were stuck with Taco. You're not stuck with Micah, because if all the stuff that happened around his character didn't happen, he would have been a top 5 pick. I don't think you would have had that many quarterbacks go be taken over him. But talking about that draft, Denver should have taken Justin Fields. They should have taken a quarterback and not taken the corner. But that's a different conversation for a day. I'll leave that to the Denver Bronco fan pages.
The Denver Broncos are way ahead than the Cowboys are in intelligence, because they know what they are getting eventually, and Aaron's
going to sign a contract.
They are happy with waiting an additional year for Aaron to finish his one last year with Green Bay and then bail. And Denver's going to be there waiting for him. They're going to welcome him in. They're going to give him a Coke and a nice home-cooked meal. He's going to sit down with John Elway. They're going to have some wine, maybe some tequila. And he's going to go out there and win a lot of games, because that's what elite quarterbacks do.
For all you know, it could be a 2-year deal. I've heard that it's going to make. I heard it may be a 2-year deal and a whole lot of money.
I guarantee you that Aaron Rodgers will be gone after this year.
We'll see. They also Aaron made it known that he wants them to trade for Randall Cobb. He wants his wide receiver back, who is now a Houston Texan after spending a little time in Dallas a few seasons back.
We enjoyed Randall Cobb on our team, but he was unnecessary. We didn't need him.
No. What else could we? So yeah, tomorrow first pad practice. Ray, anything else any other topics you want to talk about?
Yes, there was a huge story that broke a few days ago, and it wasn't about any Cowboys player. It was from our wonderful, gracious, compassionate owner, Jerry Jones. As you all know, from our listeners who are probably all either a Cowboys fan or a Cowboys hater, but for the few that may or may not know much about the Dallas Cowboys, Jimmy Johnson, our two-time Super Bowl winning coach, who rejuvenated the Cowboys franchise when they were plummeting to disaster towards the end of the Tom Landry era, when Jerry Jones replaced Tex Schramm as the owner of the Dallas Cowboys in '89. He brought in Jimmy Johnson as his first head coach. And just a little backstory before I get into the story. One of Jimmy's first moves was trading Herschel Walker to the Minnesota Vikings. Herschel Walker at the time was a star running back. He was coming off his 2 great prime seasons with the Dallas Cowboys. He was really one of the only bright spots of the Dallas Cowboys. And we traded him to the Minnesota Vikings for a couple of players who weren't necessarily that great, but they filled their short role with the team. We also acquired a lot of really high draft picks. Let me read to you some of those draft picks turned into. One of them, Emmitt Smith, who is a top 5 running back ever. That is being very cautious with that top 5. And he's the NFL's all-time leading rusher. He's a Hall of Famer, 3-time Super Bowl champ running back. And Zeke should really aspire to be Emmitt Smith, because Emmitt Smith is what you want to be if you want to have a really long career at the running back position. Moving on, Russell Maryland, defensive tackle. He played a lot, had quite a few seasons on that defensive line, which is a very stout defensive line. Darren Woodson, Hall of Fame safety, Super Bowl champion. He played with the Cowboys for quite a while. And, of course, then we have Kevin Smith, another cornerback, who was that second or third corner for quite a long time. He was a very solid corner, and he was also a Super Bowl champ for the Dallas Cowboys. So Jimmy Johnson, after 2 straight Super Bowls, was fired by Jerry. A lot of speculations on why. But anyway, when Jimmy's being elected into the Hall of Fame, right around when the Hall of Fame game airs, like either the day or the day before or the day after, he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And when asked about that, Jerry had quite a few interesting quotes to say, so I'm just going to go into those really quickly. He said, first, Jimmy's a great coach. My job was to keep keep it together, should have had deference to something that was working. I've never been able to know why I messed it up so bad. He didn't say messed up. He said something a little bit more exciting, but we'll just go with messed up. He said, I can't answer those questions on why I messed it up. By the way, I can answer those questions because Jerry is a stubborn person. He's a prideful person. He wanted to be given credit. And to this day, that is why the Cowboys have only had one good football coach other than Jimmy Johnson, and that was Bill Parcells. And Jerry also ran Bill Parcells out of town. So one of the reasons why the Cowboys have been pretty pathetic the last 25 years is because we haven't had a decent coach. Other than Bill Parcells. And when we had Bill Parcells, he was responsible of the development of Tony Romo, the last franchise quarterback. He retired, and that left Romo and the Cowboys with Wade Phillips, who inherited that Parcells team. They had a few decent years, and then fired Wade Phillips, Jason Garrett, mediocre Jason Garrett. He's gone, and now we have Mike McCarthy. So jury's still out on Mike McCarthy. I don't think he's going to last very long. Owen thinks he will. We'll see. But yeah, just some weird Jerry things, just some weird Jerry confessions on Jimmy Johnson. And I mean, really, looking back on it, if Jerry was he could say that he doesn't know why he messed it up, but he knows exactly why, because he thought he deserved more credit than Jimmy Johnson. So he decided he wanted to move on. And he did get one ring with Jimmy's successor, Barry Switzer. But Barry Switzer inherited Jimmy's team, which was loaded, and those players started retiring and getting old, and Barry Switzer was gone pretty soon after. So just a nice story from our owner. Probably another Hard Knocks thing. We'll probably see that in Hard Knocks. But that's all I got. Jerry being Jerry. He'll probably say something like, this is the greatest team we've had since 1995. Who knows? But you got anything on that?
I kind of agree with everything you said. I do have something to say after that, after what I'm going to say. Something else, quote unquote breaking news, I guess you could say. But yeah, not breaking, but Cowboys news. But yeah, I also think that it was stubborn. I couldn't have said it better. I think that my dad would tell me all the time that he wanted Jerry wanted respect, because Jerry thought that he was the reason why the team was so successful. And he didn't like that the coach was getting so much of the pleasure, because Jerry needs someone to always massage his ego. So he decided to fire the coach in hopes that the team would still be great and Jerry would be looked at as amazing. But I don't know. Going into anything else you want to say, or can I move on?
Yeah, one more thing. So, yeah, Jerry, back in those days, back in the days of the Jimmy Johnson Cowboys and even the Tom Landry Cowboys, the players were feared the head coach. If you made a mistake and if you slacked off, like just an example, if DeMarcus Lawrence and Jalen Smith and Ezekiel Elliott were slacking off, they would have been gone in the Jimmy Johnson and Tom Landry era. They would, no matter what they had on their contract, they would have been goodbye. And these Cowboys teams of the last 25 years, other than the teams with Bill Parcells, have really lacked that. And that is one of the reasons why that we have not been very good. And I don't think Mike McCarthy has that desire, and he doesn't strike that fear from his football team. But I mean, of course, the NFL has changed. It's a more player-friendly league. That's why all these players are getting so much money. But if the Cowboys, my true belief is, and this is 100%, no, like joking, all jokes aside, if the Cowboys want to make a Super Bowl, they're going to have to respect their coaching staff more. Because even going into last year, the players talking bad about their defensive coordinator, some about the head coach, some about other coaches. Like there needs to be a coaching staff, like a power pyramid. There needs to be like a coaching staff, and then star players, quarterback, running back, and then players. And right now the players can just walk up to Jerry and cry, and Jerry will, pat them on the back and say, it's okay, I'll deal with it. And until Jerry backs off, by the way, he still does the same thing he did back when he fired Jimmy Johnson. If I didn't reiterate, that's why we stink, because he still has the same amount of power as he did back then. But until Jerry backs off and hires a real coach who will instill fear with his team, Cowboys are going nowhere. But yeah, let's move on.
I was
Now
muted.
I can.
My apologies. I hit the mute button by accident. So I feel like Mike Nolan deserves some of the hate that he got, because from what I heard, when players started to talk, the scheme was never the same. He kept on changing it because he felt that it needed to be changed, and the players weren't up to date with the changes. So they were very confused. Even from when he had his press conference and he was eating something and he got hot sauce in his eye, I was like, yeah, this guy's not going to be anything special. I saw a quote from Trayvon Diggs. He said that he respects Quinn, the whole defense does, and he's looking forward to playing him. The only thing that I found funny about what Diggs said was because when Diggs was drafted a few years ago, two drafts ago in the same draft as Lamb, I thought that Diggs was going to be a first-round pick, and I thought that he could have taken that pick 19 from Dallas. And before the Cowboys picked, or 18, I forget. But the Cowboys were picking, and a pick before them were the Falcons, and the Falcons decided to take a cornerback from Clemson over Diggs, and Diggs said that he plans on finding out why he was not drafted to the Falcons, which I am looking forward to hearing that answer. One thing also on that press conference, I don't know if you heard it, maybe it wasn't from Jerry or if it was just someone else saying it. I heard that Troy Aikman could become the general manager. I don't know if that was a joke from Jerry or something like that.
That
Did you hear
ain't
that?
happening. Troy Aikman was no part in being the GM. But anyway,
So
before you go on, I found a really funny archived text message from the great Owen from September 28th. September 28th. I don't know who they were playing. Oh, Cleveland. Cleveland. I heard some of these great texts. D-Law is washed. That's what Owen said.
I think everyone was washed after that game.
And then he said D-Law is trash.
Everyone
news.
was trash that game.
Let's see what I said about Mike McCarthy, because I'm actually curious. I'm done with Mike McCarthy's ineptitude coaching and Dak's ineptitude of ever starting fast with a lead versus solid team that if they lose to Cleveland next week, I'm done watching until they prove to me they are worth my time. Will I say this on our podcast this year? The jury is still out. Moving on.
So this is the last thing I have to say, and then Ray, if you have anything else to say, we can wrap it up. Do you remember Mitchell Schwartz, a tackle from the Chiefs? He was a great tackle. He retired, cut. So he was a tackle for Mahomes. I think he won a Super Bowl with them. I think he was on that team. So in a completely unrelated note from the actual season, Madden, NFL's video game form, released their top 10 defensive end ratings.
Oh, I'm shocked that you
And
went with defensive end and not wide receiver ratings.
and Mitchell Schwartz commented, Joey Bosa should be top 3, if not number 1. Mac, Khalil Mack, and Garrett. Forget his first name, but Garrett from
Myles
the
Garrett.
Browns. Yeah. Rounding out the top 3 is fine. I do some shuffling around the rest of that too. And if injuries don't matter, then how is Nick only number 9? I'd find a way to get DeMarcus Lawrence in there too. So he believes that DeMarcus Lawrence deserves to be a top 10 defensive end, and I don't. We can talk about that a different video because I would need to get a whole lot of stats more than just sacks to be able to prove where I think that he's good. I just
I'm going to eye roll myself through this tweet.
I find it interesting because Schwartz, he was a really solid tackle, and for him to say that, I know it's a video game, but I just found it interesting. But yeah, I don't know. Madden is a very dumb game.
The last time DeMarcus Lawrence showed any significance on this football team was when he fumbled. When you fumbled a recovered fumble, and then a few plays later, strip sacked Matthew Stafford in the playoff game. Since then, he has been very average and is now being paid $100 million. And we still don't know why he is here and getting paid $100 million.
I feel like you can't bring up salary because when Jared Goff got his money, he wasn't worth it. Other quarterbacks, when they got their money, they weren't worth it. No player is worth $100 million throughout their whole contract. But that's sadly where the cap is. And the cap's only going to become greater in size, which means that players are going to demand more percentages of that thing,
Correct.
of that. Which is why I'm happy that they signed Dak when they did, because I think we can both agree that Dak was a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson and the kid from the Browns. And both of them in the next year and a half will have way more money than Dak has right now.
Well, the jury's still on whether or not Baker Mayfield will get his money. He might be traded. Who knows? We'll see.
Okay. Well, Lamar is going to get his money. He's not deserving of it.
Lamar might have a chance of getting $800 million, whereas Mahomes got $500 million. But anyway,
Mahomes' contract may be a bargain in a few years, and so will that.
Back to your point, because you made a very similar point last show about salary cap, and I agreed with you that you can't. It's impossible to pay players by what they're actually worth based on the salary cap. Unfortunately, for you, with that statement, is that the Cowboys did pay DeMarcus Lawrence that $100 million, and by paying him that $100 million, he has to be okay with being scrutinized by fans like myself who believe that he is not achieving to his money when I barely see him on the field. By the way, if I wouldn't be talking about DeMarcus Lawrence if I wasn't seeing what I was seeing on the field. When I watch the Cowboys defense, keep in mind I watched like the DeMarcus Ware days where DeMarcus Ware was all over the field. He was wrecking havoc. He was sacking the quarterback. He was making tackles. He was doing basically everything we needed from that star big money player. And when you sign DeMarcus Lawrence, that big money that you signed DeMarcus Ware, the fan base says, okay, you need to do what DeMarcus Ware was doing. And when you're watching DeMarcus Lawrence and he's kind of a no-show, maybe gets a few tackles, maybe gets a sack or two every now and then, you're like, come on, we need you to be that star player that DeMarcus Ware was. Because I'm sure DeMarcus Ware was being doubled or tripled or quadrupled or whatever, because that's just who he is. He's a Hall of Fame player who won a Super Bowl after leaving the Cowboys. Think of that. All you have to do to win the Super Bowl is just leave the Dallas Cowboys.
And get Peyton Manning on your team.
But yeah, and when you get paid you have to play well to not be scrutinized. That's why that's the same thing when Romo got paid back when $25 million for a quarterback was the highest paid player. He was scrutinized because of the lack of playoff success. Dak misses the postseason a ton, he's going to be scrutinized for lack of postseason success. If Ezekiel Elliott got his money, he's going to be scrutinized. Even though he got close to 1,000 yards, he's scrutinized for looking lethargic and slow and not generating that yards per attempt and yards per carry that he did before, especially when he's averaging 68 yards per game. So as a player, even with the salary cap and being paid way more than you deserve, if you don't live up to your side of the bargain and actually play well, you absolutely deserve to be criticized. And same with Jalen Smith.
100%.
Jalen Smith, you're the only player that deserves more. Like, I could forget about DeMarcus Lawrence because I have Jalen Smith, and he is also getting paid a ton of money.
I 100% agree with you.
This might be the worst contract the last few years. The last few years might be the worst contract years of the Cowboys' career because they paid DeMarcus Lawrence, Jalen Smith, and Ezekiel Elliott, and all three of them have not lived up to their contracts as of today.
It's always tough giving a running back a second contract because, especially when you run him into the ground in 2016. Jalen, my only issue with Jalen is that he had a really good year 2018. I think that was his good year. Last season, what he said was that he wasn't in the same role that he was in 2018, and this year he'll be in the same role. So all players, in my opinion, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to get everyone a clean slate. This is a new coach. It's like basically a new coaching staff because last year, who knows? But this year, like a new defensive coordinator, knew everything, and Dan Quinn's not going anywhere because this is the first time. Was Rod Marinelli was he like a household name when they signed him?
No, but he was there for 6 years, so he didn't stink.
Yeah, but Dan Quinn's like a household name, and I don't think he's going anywhere. I think either after if Mike does well, then sure he'll be the head coach for a while. But if he doesn't do well, I think depending on how well Dan Quinn does, either he'll be the head coach or Kellen Moore will be at some point in time. So I don't think Quinn's gonna go anywhere because you can't with Dallas. I feel like we have a lot of good players on the team. You can't be putting in a new defensive coordinator every single year because players are just never going to get better and they're never going to understand the scheme. So you have to keep them for at least 2 years, unless you have a Mike Nolan-like season and just the whole team hates you.
Well, I don't really understand. I still don't really understand why they fired Marinelli. I don't think their defense was that bad with Marinelli. I think they probably did. I feel like they probably just fired everyone on the Garrett's coaching staff and started fresh. So he would probably be, other than Kellen Moore, I guess. Kellen Moore is still there, but I think I'd probably the only coach I would have held on to in some sort of role. He doesn't even have to be the defense coordinator, but just keep him from that staff because he took over from after Rob Ryan had his pathetic, disastrous stretch as the Cowboys defensive coordinator. So, the jury is still out because if you watch that defense from those years, it could have been worse. It could have been worse in some stages than this last year's defense. So both were pretty horrendous. But I do agree with you. I think Dan Quinn is in that. Jerry Jones kind of brought him in to kind of have that guy. If the Cowboys are to be, let's say, 0-6, and then Jerry could just kind of casually put Dan Quinn into that head coaching spot. And he could take over for Mike McCarthy because he's been a head coach for a little bit. He was a head coach in a Super Bowl, so Jerry would have no problem inserting him into the into the fold. I mean, but I wouldn't want that. I want Jerry to find someone else. I don't know who we would find. I just somebody, a little bit more demanding of his players. But
it's hard to find.
That's all I kind of have to say on that. It's training camp, and I'll say this again, training camp really doesn't really tell me anything I need to know when it comes to veterans. I'm really only focusing, like when I touch into training camp, I'm really looking to see what the rookies are doing. And I haven't really heard much about Jabril Cox. That's the one player I'm curious about, because I've heard about Parsons, I've heard about Kelvin Joseph, I've heard about Nashawn Wright, but I haven't heard anything about Jabril Cox. So I'm curious if you know anything about him.
I've just heard that he's been playing. I think it's hard for like a third day pick to kind of get playing time over Leighton, and as bad as Jalen, because Micah, a first round pick, second round pick, even a third round pick, they're obviously going to play. But like a fourth round pick, you kind of have to like fourth and fifth, you kind of have to like earn your time. So I think Jabril Cox will earn his spot in preseason, or knock on, like, God forbid, an injury or like a hamstring thing or anything. But
yeah, all I'll say is Jalen Smith better be careful, because if he continues to perform like he's performing in practice, then he's going to be not playing very much, which may be a good thing. Because Leighton, I have no problem with Van Der Esch. It's just whether or not he could stay on the field.
Yeah.
He's very similar to Sean Lee in the sense that he's getting hurt a ton with the neck and the back. So if he could stay on the field, he's a good asset to the football team. And it's really all about having that good linebacker core, because that's where most your leadership comes from on your defense, is that Mike and Will linebacker. So I feel like if they can maybe have Van Der Esch in there and Parsons, that would be a good duo. Bring in Cox for Van Der Esch or Parsons. That's a pretty good linebacker core right there. And I mean, the secondary looks pretty. The depth looks nice. I do think Hooker will probably be that deep safety.
Yeah, him and
Donovan, and then I don't care. Throw the other two Achilles brothers, the twins.
Crazy, yeah.
The twins, and then you can leave the adopted brother as the back deep safety. Then corners, it's gonna be a learning curve for the corners. I feel like I feel like the corners are gonna get burned a lot. So that's gonna be the defense's biggest weakness is going to be at that corner position, because the Cowboys face a lot of really talented receivers this year. So it really is going to be the test on those corners. And don't really know much about the defensive line other than that they really like Gallimore out of Oklahoma. I saw a tweet about that. And then, of course, the Randy Gregory stuff. So, I mean, I say this, or everyone says this every year. The Cowboys are always loaded with talent. It's just whether or not they can meet expectations. And fortunately, they very rarely meet expectations. But we'll see. I think their schedule is a little bit more challenging than it looks on paper, just based on teams improving, teams not improving. We can now pencil in the Broncos game as a win because Aaron's not going to be there next year. Yeah. So, but we'll see. Training camp is fun. I like seeing videos of interceptions and Jalen looking like he doesn't have a brain. And is CD going to be the number one receiver by the end of camp because Amari won't play? Who knows? But that's about all I have to say on that matter.
He'll get some preseason stuff. But could we do one thing that's like kind of fun and then we can wrap it up?
Yes, I agree. I love fun.
So obviously, every NFL game there's 6 captains. I think you and I should try to figure out who the 6 captains are going to be.
Okay,
2 on
you go
offense,
first.
2 on defense, and special teams. I think we both agree Dak's going to get it no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Quarterback, captain.
I feel like I've been wanting Zeke to get it for a while. Okay, Zach Martin, that's 2.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else in the offense, or is that kind of it?
I want you to give your 6, and then I'll give my 6.
Okay, so all those 2, Greg Zerline, the kicker, that's 3. Defense, I don't even know. DeMarcus 4, because he's the only vet on that team. Zeke, I'd like to think could get it, and then 6, because the punter can't. He's new. Who else in that defense? Dark horse, Leighton. Those are my 6.
Does it have to be 2 from each part of the team?
I don't know, because
I know what
I think they
because
decide who gets it. I think it's just 6 throughout the whole team.
okay, so I'm gonna go with Dak for sure because he's the quarterback.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Zach Martin like you.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Van Der Esch and Zerline.
So we have the same 4.
Yeah. Diggs.
Ooh. Okay, 5.
And Tyron Smith.
Yeah, I didn't know if I was gonna say. So it's a good 6. I feel like it's kind of give captains to the defense because there's really no good vet besides the D-Law and Leighton and Jalen. If he gets it, I'm burning a tree.
I think Mike should implement a new system where he gives the worst player on each portion of the team the captain. Jalen Smith can get it. Brandon McKnight can get it. The backup left tackle. They can give it to. They can give it to.
Steal.
They could give it to Cooper Rush. They can give it to. They could bring in Brett Maher as a backup. Give it to him, and Jalen Smith, of course. Give it to one of the Achilles brothers as a joke. Yeah, I think I've gotten my 6.
I just hope that last year, I don't know if any of you listeners, you probably do, but they change the captains every week. I hope they do not do that. Mike did it based off of who played well the previous week, which I like, but I think it's good to give 6 set in stone people the captain patch.
Yeah, the captain of the captains are meant to be your leaders of your football team, and when you are just giving them away based on performance, it doesn't really, it loses that like excite like that power of like these are your guys, these are your leaders, these are the guys who are going to set the tone. So I hope he does change that, because if I see like a decent captain squad week 1, and then the very next week they're walking out there with Jalen Smith and Kate and KZ and Jordan Lewis and
another not great player.
Another name that doesn't need to be the captain. I'll just be like, okay, we're doing this again. This is why we stink. But yeah, captains should be your leaders of your football team, not just based on performance. You can give the game ball. That's what the game ball's for. The game ball is for the players who play well each week. The captains are for your leaders. So let's just be a normal football team that has normal traditions and do normal things and execute and do what they need to do and we'll be good and we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think we had a really good episode today. I'm looking forward to next week's because we'll actually have some padded practice and we'll actually get to see some hits. So we'll really see how good this new and improved Zeke is. We'll really see Dak how healthy he is. We'll really see how the Achilles triplets are doing, and I think it'll be a really good testament to how good this team is. I think today was good. I think we had not really a lot of more topics to talk about today than I thought there would be.
I
I
can't wait. I can't wait for the excitement of week 1 when we have to play Tampa Bay.
Yeah. But we will get this episode out, and then we will do another one on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to it. The last episode before August, and then luckily August 7th, my birthday, 2 Saturdays from now, we're gonna have to do an episode then. So you only can say nice things about the team on that day. That can be your birthday present to me.
Unfortunately, my birthday happens after the Cowboys miss the playoffs, so we won't be able to have that episode where you trash every single player. That's most unfortunate. You're lucky because you get your birthday before the season.
Yeah, so no pain, only happiness.
I will.
Actually, the Yankees can ruin it for me.
Yeah, see, I was about to say that because if we were an all sports show, I would have had so many things to say about Yankees.
But
by the way, off topic, Yankees Rays tonight.
Yep.
If the Yankees don't win, they are a disaster because the Rays don't have a pitcher.
McCallahan, the lefty, is pitching tonight, right?
Yes, he stinks against the Yankees based on the stats. So beat him.
I'll tell him. Want to close it up?
Yeah. This has been All About America's Team. Great episode. Dived into some good topics. Made some headlines controversial that shouldn't be controversial because that's how you do it in the media. You find excitement in boring, normal things. But yeah, you can find this on All About America's Team on Instagram. We'll be probably posting some stuff more regularly going into the preseason. Same thing with Twitter, America's Team PC. And then, of course, YouTube. If you want to watch this, if you decide while you're watching us on Spotify, you want to see our wonderful faces and my really intelligent goggles that I'm wearing. You can
after my classes next week.
Yeah. If you just want to see our eyewear and Owen's great hat and our mics and my great poster behind me and my Lego Super Star Destroyer also behind me, you can go to YouTube, All About America's Team. Once again, should be able to find it. If not, go into YouTube and then in the search bar, it'll pop up. I promise. But yeah, it's looking forward to pads. We'll have more information next episode. I'm Ray Nickens.
And I'm Owen DeChico.
And this is us signing off. Have a great rest of your week, guys. Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys.